evening, everyone. Evening. We have, of course, the two real ones here tonight. Part two, George Graham years. We left it just before the 1991 season. Kenny, how you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. The weather's really good. Gone for runs. Working really hard. It's come to the end of the football season, which I have to admit, in general, the football hasn't been great, but the memories in terms of what we've done is fantastic. I always say thank you, George Graham, for reawakening the sleeping giant that's Arsenal. Because at the end of the day, everything you see now is that of this man.
True. I did see a comment by a certain very big Arsenal fan channel that they don't want the George Graham type of football back. Okay, fair enough. I hear you, but at least he won stuff, you know. Hey, but anyway, we move on. DJ, mate, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, all good. Well, weather's been good today. Been busy as usual. But yeah, and then had time for a little workout when I got home, get rid of some stress of the football season and our wonderful club. So yeah, all good. Looking forward to this. Talking about this wonderful man and the team that he had, and yeah, takes us away from all the stuff that's been going on this season, really, doesn't it, matey? Yeah, big up, guys.
Ace has brought. I knew I shouldn't have mentioned that. I knew I shouldn't have mentioned that. Just to give you the context on that one, if anybody didn't see it, I was on with DJ and other people on Aaron's channel, and it was brilliant. It was such a fun chat, and DJ and Aaron were coming up with all the Arsenal merch, and over the on the Arsenal site, and I have to admit I did go and buy the bruised banana hat because that'd be perfect for me fishing, and it just went down the wrong road really, because it then got into like and Aaron were going on about pajamas, and I admitted that when I had to go in the hospital early part of last year, my wife and my grandson decided to buy me some pajamas, because I don't own pajamas, and they bought me Peppa Pig ones. When I was in the St. Bart's, out they came, and it was a bit of a laughing stock amongst the other four gentlemen in my ward and the nurses, and so I had to wear these bloody Peppa Pig poxy pajamas. Anyway, let's get into it, gentlemen.
Quality.
Right, 1991 season. Quite an iconic season, really. George Graham has brought the club to somewhere. 17-match unbeaten run in the league, but that was abruptly ended by Man United at Highbury, 6-2 loss in League Cup. I remember that day so badly. We were all there. It was a bit of a shit show. And that came 2 weeks, I think, after Arsenal had been, it was about 3 weeks, wasn't it? We'd been deducted the 2 points after the kick-off at Old Trafford. We'd got deducted 2 points, and Man United got deducted 1 point. And it was a bit of a piss take, really, wasn't it? Don't you think? It was a pretty much, I'd call it almost a 20-man brawl. Even our goalkeeper got involved in that. And we also had that season some great debutants. David Seaman, the Super Swede, Anders Limper, great player. Andy Linegan joined us and debuted. David Hillier, who went on later. We'll talk more about him later. And of course, Andy Cole. And great start to the season, guys, wasn't it? 17 unbeaten, went in, couldn't ask for anything more from that team. But then the debacle, Kenny, at Old Trafford.
I think when you look at that season, it was hot on the heels of Italian '90, where England, there was a kind of a feel good factor about English football because England got to the semi-finals of the World Cup, lost on penalties to Germany, West Germany at the time, and it was one of those things where you had a really good feeling about the season because obviously you talked about finally we got David Seaman, finally we got Anders Limpar to replace Brian Marwood, and it just had that sort of thing where we looked like a seasoned team, like the experience of winning the league 2 years before then, and obviously finishing fourth the season afterwards. We looked like we meant it, and as you talk about the first 17 games, believe it or not, 3 teams were unbeaten in the league right up until November, and it was Arsenal, Spurs, and Liverpool. And then Spurs lost to Liverpool at White Hart Lane 3-1, the Gaza match, and then afterwards Spurs fell away, and it became us and Liverpool. And that season, Crystal Palace finished third. That season. Yeah, when you think about the turning points of the season, I think when you mentioned the Battle of Old Trafford, I think what's happened is that the reason why Arsenal got deducted 2 points because they had form from the season before. Remember the game against Norwich City, the 4-3, David O'Leary, when he broke the appearance record. He actually scored one of the goals that day. Because we were involved in a similar situation with Norwich after we got the equaliser, it was a case of, that's Arsenal again. So we got the punishment. So it was really, really... we actually saw it coming. And you know what it was like in that time. If John Sadler of The Sun basically put a headline about his outrage, and then that was followed by other journalists at the time, like Harry Harris, Mahir Boza, all those kind of journalists in the late 80s, early 90s, that, of course, the FA were going to react to it because the TV just went way OTT. John Sadler of The Sun went way OTT at that time. And that's why we got deducted 2 points. But at the end of the day, that only just galvanised us because something else, we're going to come to that, even made us more rigid, even made us more of a team and more them against us.
True, very true. DJ, you remember it? It was an amazing start, wasn't it? I mean, 17 unbeaten. Yeah. We were walking it. It was a big kick-off, wasn't it?
Yeah, we was playing some good football as well, Jez. We was people said about the football under George Graham, but those 17 matches unbeaten, we was playing some lovely football as well. Some really good football. We could defend, we could get into attack very, very quickly. And we was on a crest of a wave, and when Limpar came in as well, he gave us a new dimension, got the ball, exciting, running at players, similar to what we really need now, Andy Linnigan, he brought in, and he was steady, he wasn't the kind of player that was going to pull up any trees and make you sort of, but he, whenever he was called upon, he done a job. If it was there to edit, he'd edit. If he cleared it, he cleared it. There was no airs and graces with Andy. If it needed to go to Rosehead, that's where it'd go. And the football was kind of, it wasn't kind of awkward. It was just easy on the eye, play to the strengths. That's one thing with George Graham. He got the players to play to their strengths. He never expected certain players to do too much. He just expected them to do a job. And that was part of his man management skills. Part of his man management skills was that he could do that with his players and get the best out of his players. And then when Man United, when we had the 2 points deducted, as Kenny said, it all sort of it all kind of escalated from the incident we had at Norwich, and I think we was just sort of made an example of, to be honest, rightly or wrongly. You know, that's there for the debate, but at the end of the day, that's why our biggest rivals are Man United. We've had so many run-ins with Man United through the years. George Graham, then it transferred it over into the Wenger years, and lo and behold, that's why this year's FA Cup, when we lost on penalties, hurt, because it doesn't matter when you play Man United, first round, second round, semi-final, doesn't matter what stage, they're our biggest rivals, and it hurts. And I remember I went with a friend actually in the clock end when we lost the 6-2 and the unbeaten run come to an end, because I used to normally went to the North Bank, but for some reason or other there was I went with a friend in the clock end, and we was right by the away fans, and I remember that night we just didn't look. I don't know what was wrong. We just didn't come out. We just didn't come out that night. And Man United were really up for it. You know, they were pinging the ball around. They scored some good goals, and we just we was just overrun in all departments. It was an hard one to take, really, because I never see it coming. No one saw it coming. No one saw it coming, because we was on such fine form, and no one saw that game coming at all, and we just never got out of bed. We just never really got going that day, and I remember it really, really well. You know, the United fans travelled in their thousands, and it was getting a bit feisty in the clock end because of the 2 points and the 1 point deduction. It was sort of like getting a bit heated amongst the fans as well. So it was a night to remember, that night, but. You know, we kind of rallied after that, as George done. Just amazing.
The great thing about him, wasn't it? George Graham had this ability to rally the troops.
Yeah,
he put one of his great speeches in, and the next game you'd think, well, what happened in that game? Because now we're looking at a totally different team. You know, and we went on again, but. Unfortunately, we also had a bad one. But we'll come back. I'm going to come to it in a minute, because we did then go back on a good running streak in the league. But unfortunately, in December, we lost one of our icons. David Seaman went off to on a holiday at Her Majesty's pleasure. And that cost us bad. And also, let's look at this one. We'll all remember it. I remember it, going to that semi-final, the FA Cup, Spurs. We were cruising. Should have been going for the double. We lost 3-1.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the most sickening days I've seen at that for a very long time. To lose 3-1 to the noisy neighbours down the lane, it hurt, didn't it, boys? It hurt. Big up, Mama.
It certainly did, Jess. But if you sort of like said, if we sort of like rewind back to December, we got to remember December. Before December, we had a very good win against Liverpool.
Yes.
Where we beat 3-0, where it showed we meant business. Alan Smith was fantastic. Merson played really well that day, and really gave him a tonking at Highbury, and that was amongst their really, really good, really excellent form. And it was a case where, at that time, I believed we would be champions. I believed that the only team that was to stop us was Liverpool, but I felt that all the parts fitted. Seaman looked like a colossus. The back four was the same sort of back four from 1989, and then you had the midfield. It was pretty settled because you had Michael Thomas. Yeah, you had Paul Davis. Remember that by that time, Kevin Richardson went to Aston Villa. Him and George Graham didn't get on anyway. So it was a win-win for everyone when he left. And then obviously Paul Davies became very much of a fixture. It was probably the beginning and the end of David Rocastle, because David started to get injuries by that time, his knees. And of course, obviously he had a great season the season afterwards, but that's when it was becoming the beginning and the end. If you notice in the FA Cup semi-final with Spurs, he didn't play. He wasn't as side, neither was Perry Groves, a legendary substitute. But when you think about what happened with Tony Adams getting incarcerated, it was one of those questions: where were you? If you're an Arsenal fan, you knew where you were when it got a bit announced. I was still at finishing off my A levels. You came out of class, and the rumours around St Aloysius College in Archway, Highgate Hill, was just unbelievable. It was like when Margaret Thatcher she had to resign. Well, I think this one was bigger because it was in Islington, Archway. 99% of the people supported Arsenal. There's odd Spurs fan there, there's odd Liverpool, and on Man United, but mostly Arsenal. It was like everyone was just buzzing the news. They couldn't believe it, didn't want to believe it, and then you rushed home after school, and it was kind of you got the Evening Standard. It was all over the Standard, and all you could see was Tony Adams getting bundled into a prison van, being driven away to Chelmsford Nick. And it's one of those things where you thought, I thought, we better stick together. That was when I was a bit like some of our fans now, like, I won't mention names. I thought the whole world was against us. But rather than own the fact that the whole world is against us, I thought, let's go and win this league. They've taken 2 points off us. They've made an example of our captain. And everyone thinks we're going to fold. Everyone wants us to fold. Spurs want us to fold. Liverpool, because they want to retain their title, wanted us to fold as well. And it was just like, really kind of galvanised us. Obviously, we lost against Chelsea because we went down to 9 men. And, Chelsea played out their skins that day. That was probably their best performance of the season. But after that, it was we galvanised ourselves. We had good results in the FA Cup. We had that marathon with Leeds United. Where David Seaman made 2 of the best saves I've seen. A save from Lee Chapman and a double deflection from Gary McAllister, where he's put over the ball. Yeah, that performance made me get over Johnny Lukic, and then it was getting all the way to the semi-finals. It was one of those things where, for some reason, I was glad we got Tottenham because for some reason I wanted to beat them.
I was overly confident we'd do it.
But the ironic thing about it is that rumours were spread by Spurs players that we were already recording our FA Cup final song, and according to the Spurs team, Gaza, that galvanised them. So I just remember, the days before the semi-final, the Evening Standard once again, and your black and white, said your colour photos of both the teams, and basically the Islington Gazette and the Red Green Advertiser, they all got together to do a Spurs and Arsenal special. That's what I remember about leading up to that game. And I remember going there, and for some reason thinking, when they came out, I thought, it didn't feel right. It's like Spurs were a different team. It's like they really wanted it. It's like their players. Gaza was like Billy Wiz. Gary Lineker just was closing everyone down. Vinny Samways played a game of his life. Paul Allen and played well. And all the players that you associate with Spurs, you don't really rate that high. Steve Sedgley, David Howe, all these players that are not top level players, they had the games in their lives. When we went a goal down with that spectacular free kick with Gaza, and then Lineker scored, and it was like, we were in shock. 1 minute we're 1-0 down, and then 5 minutes later it was 2-0, and it's like, and then a great cross by Lee Dixon. Smith scores, and then I thought, right, normal service has got to resume now. We're gonna win this. And then when Lineker scored a goal, and let's face it, David Seaman did fumble it.
Yeah.
So he did fumble it.
But the thing is, he went.
It was going off. But you know what? We had a couple of chances that game. Winterburn put the ball over the bar. Kevin Campbell hit the bar. And it was one of those things where it was a crazy, crazy game. But it was one of those things where you thought, I was so angry about losing to them because I thought, right, that we could have done a double, which that team deserved. But I thought, right, they've made us angry now. We're going to go on and win the league. And that's what we did. But that game still hurts quite a lot because of the fact that it was humiliation. It was at Wembley.
Yeah.
It was in front of, it was a North London derby at Wembley, in front of your friends and family who are both Arsenal and Tottenham. And I felt humiliated. You know what I mean? Really humiliated that day.
It was. I mean, it's so sad when you consider David Seaman had gone 29 games with a clean sheet that season. 29 games. And on that day, it always went horribly wrong. But DJ, you know, it was a... You know,
it was horrible. No, it was horrible. I remember it well. And we were favourites going into it, you know, and but it's true what Jez said. I mean, you had players for Tottenham that you would never thought turn up on the day, like Vinnie Samways, you know, and Paul Allen and people like that. They just really turned it on, and it did. I mean, Gascoigne was always going to be a threat as well because. He was such a talent, and I was jealous Spurs had him, to be honest. He was an exceptional player. Never really got the grips with him. You know, and it's tragic what happened to him in the final. But having said that, I remember, I just remember being so numb, you know, because it was Tottenham, and as Kenny said, B, it was at Wembley. Lineker was doing his usual thing. He was good on that day. You know, they deserved it that day. You know, and it was similar to the performance we had against Man United when they beat our unbeaten, you know, when they beat us 6-2 earlier in the season. It was just you just couldn't get do you know what I mean? You just couldn't understand why. But as I think George said after the game, you know, you're going to get these games, and everyone's out to get one over on Arsenal. No one likes us, and that's what he instilled into the team, and that's how he galvanised the team. You know, pick yourself up. But I remember going back to the Tony Adams. I think I was on a train coming home from. I was on a train. I was at the job I was doing on the time. I was coming home on the train, and. Someone said to me that they were talking, and they were just sort of on the sort of chair next to me, and they were talking away. And I went, "Oh, do you hear about Tony Adams?" And I went, and my ears just pricked up, and I said, "What's the matter with Tony Adams?" And that's when we got talking. So these two strangers told me on the train. I didn't even know. I knew there was something going down, but I didn't quite know when. And they just told me then, and I was like, "Oh no!" And it was. All the way home, I was just sort of like, oh no, what are we going to do? Like, you know, Tony Adams is, that's it now. And it was all doom and gloom and everything else. And it was, but it did. It galvanised the fans. It made us stronger. It made the team stronger. And you know,
remember what car he was driving when he'd done it? It just shows the difference to this modern day.
Was it? I can't remember. It weren't a Ford, was it?
Yeah, it was a Ford.
It was a Ford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Please tell me it weren't a Capri.
Was it a Sierra Cosworth or something like that, wasn't it?
No, it's a Sierra. It was a Ford Sierra.
Well, no, it was a Ford Sierra.
2-litre GL.
2-litre GL, yeah. I thought it was a Cosworth. I thought it was a Cosley, but it wasn't. No. I knew it was a Ford Sierra, but I knew it was a Ford. But
that's the difference now.
Yeah, that was bad times. That was real bad times. But you know, once again, the great man got the team going again. We had some good results without Tony. but and you know, had to change the style how we played a little bit. We became a lot more defensive, more than usual. And then we got 91. I think we signed Ian Wright from that, didn't we? We got him from Palace.
Yeah, we did from Palace. Yeah,
we got him from Palace.
I remember. My boss I always remember this. Right, my boss at the time was a Palace fan, and he said, "Oh, you've got a good player there." I said, "Nah, you don't do nothing at Arsenal. What are you on about?" Oh, well, shows what I know, doesn't it? But it's a good question here. It's me, Everett's question. If Fergie didn't come, then would United have been the top two clubs in the Prem, or would it have only been Liverpool and Arsenal? Good question.
Good question. Well, when Fergie
Probably
yes. Sorry, Jez, that's Kenny. When Fergie first started Man United, he wasn't doing a very good job. I mean, they were struggling. You know, it took him a while to get going, but eventually he did, and the rest is history. But I don't know. I'll let Kenny answer that one. Would it have been Arsenal?
No, I think with Sir Alex, Arsenal, Liverpool. You've got to remember one thing as well. When Fergie first came to the club in '86, Liverpool had done the double, but the season before that, Everton won the league. And then it's Fergie's in that season when Fergie joined in '86-'87, it was Everton who were dominating. So from the time when if you look at the time, people actually thought it was going to be Liverpool. At first it was Liverpool Everton, then obviously when Arsenal won the title, it was Arsenal Liverpool. But it was a case where it was really, really Liverpool. And I think in terms of Fergie, he was the first person to have a process. But you look at his results. All right, they finished the bottom half of the table. No, they finished in the top half of the table. He galvanised them in '86-'87. His first full season, they finished second. Season after that, they finished about 8th or 9th, and they got the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. The season after that was one of their worst seasons, quite similar to what they're doing now, but they won the FA Cup, and then the season after they won the Cup, then they should have won the league, and they won the league. So, in essence, when you talk about trust the process, which we always ask for Arteta, well, Man United board trusted the process, and it worked out for them. But yeah, so if the Man United board didn't trust the process, no way, because by that time the Premiership was established, and in essence, it could have been Blackburn could have dominated because Jack Walker came along and they had all the money and they were getting all the best players. But Man United were on the way to winning their first league title in 26 years, and that started their domination. But yeah, had it not been for Fergie, it could have been Blackburn for a few years, and then it could have been anyone's.
Yeah. But I remember the results after that Wembley. You know, I think we had Man City at home. I mean, it was 2-2 draw at home. We didn't actually play well. That was a midweek game, I think. I think it was a Wednesday or a Tuesday night, I think. It was a Wednesday. No, it was definitely a Wednesday. But we had Man City at home 2-2. We didn't really play well. Man City weren't a very good team at the time. And I remember thinking, oh, this is it. We're gonna kind of limper here. We're gonna struggle here. And then we won QPR at home 2-0. I remember that. And then we drew 0-0 away. I think it was Sunderland, was it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we really, really wasn't much happening in that game. I think we missed quite a few chances in that game, if I can remember. I don't know if Kenny remembers it more than me, but I knew it was 0-0. I don't think there was a lot in it.
Yeah, it wasn't much in it. It was
Sunderland scored right at the end, couldn't they? They missed a real chance at the end, didn't they? I can't remember the player now. Who was it? Can't remember. But they missed a real...
Was it Marco Gabbiadini?
Yeah, I think Gabbiadini missed an absolute sitter right at the end, and I'm thinking, oh, goal if that goes in. And then we played Man United, and then I think we beat them at home, didn't we? Was it 3-1? I think. And then it
was CJB. What it was is that obviously we were still like leading coming into like Easter Monday, and it was a case of like ITV Sport had 2 live games. Obviously, it didn't matter to us because we were going to go to the Arsenal game, of course. But it was Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, and Liverpool were at the City Ground, and Nottingham Forest scored in the last 5 minutes?
That's right. That's right.
So basically, we actually won the league because Liverpool had to beat Nottingham. It had to avoid the
Forest. Yeah.
So May Day, Easter Monday. That's when we won the league because Liverpool. And before that, let's not forget we won at Anfield, where Paul Merson scored a goal where he did a 1-2.
Yeah.
He put a ball a goal. So that was another sign of their dominance.
Brilliant goal.
Yeah, sign of dominance. And Liverpool, obviously, by that time, Kenny Dalglish retired. Remember, he said the pressure was too much.
Yeah.
And then they got in Graham Souness, kind of galvanised them. But they were scoring a lot of goals. But
didn't really happen, did it, for them?
Yeah,
didn't really happen for them. When Dalglish went, that was kind of demise. And then we did win the league because, as I said, Forest done the job on Liverpool. And then we remember the last game against Coventry where we absolutely annihilated them.
5-1, wasn't it?
6-1, wasn't it? I think. Was it 6-1? 6-1. Yeah.
Well,
and absolutely smashed the Coventry team then. But little did we know, the following season, 92, there was an emergence of another team breaking the ranks, wasn't there? A big club.
I'll do a couple of questions here, which I think are quite interesting. Mr. Battered Red, question for the panel: What was meeting the players at the stadium like in the past? Where it didn't really happen like that back in them days. That sort of PR.
We just had autograph books. We had autograph books. We used to wait. We waited for a bus to come in the steps at Highbury, and then we just kind of have autograph books. But one thing when we forgot, I actually went to the parade in '91.
Yeah.
After we won the title, obviously we beat Coventry 6-1. Alan Smith was secured as the top goal scorer. He scored a hat trick in the Man United game. He actually scored with a penalty to give him the golden boot. And basically, it was just. I remember one thing that was vivid. One, the amount of fans are there, 250,000 fans at the town hall.
Yeah.
But Paul Merson. When this is what Paul Merson did. When he came on the talon, it was his turn. The first thing he sang, he went, "Steer your 2 points, steer your 2 points."
Yeah. He'd had a few though on Merson, hadn't he?
I always remember it. I always remember the parade when Paul Merson did that. And then also I remember Perry Groves being absolutely hammered, and he just sang into the microphone, "We are the champions," the Queen song. So that's my memories of the parade. That was saying 2 points, and and Perry Groves singing "We Are the Champions."
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Some Ross Guilty says, and get podcast in your podcast name. I was trying to search you guys and remember Jez, and when I typed Jez Arsenal, found the channel, but it wasn't coming up when I searched Arsenal. I might actually in the summer be changing the name of the channel because a lot of people have said that to me. They can't find the channel, and so it may be that after the season's ended, I will change it to Jez Arsenal or Arsenal Jez or something like that. Make it easier for people to do that. But thank you. That's a very good comment, mate. A lot of people have said that to me. Anyway, let's get into the final part of this season. The game we lost, Chelsea home. Adams was out, Bold was out. I'm convinced if we'd had either or of them, we would have got a draw or a win, and we would have probably got on invincible that season. What do you think, Kenny?
Oh, without a shadow of doubt, we were comfortably the best team in the country. Teams. We played good football, but we were a team of all seasons, where we could pass it about. We played very good attacking football, but there's no doubt about it. We're a very robust team. I remember talking to a Spurs friend that I made the season afterwards when we started talking about Arsenal. And he said, yeah, you're a power team. And yeah, we were. We were a power team. But if you think about it, if you've got height at the back and you've got good delivery from set pieces, why not? Why not? You use that kind of delivery. But we could play as well and we could mix it. So that side was very excited. So without a shadow of doubt, Chelsea were one of those teams where they're on their day. Because I remember playing them at Highbury, we beat them 4-1. And I remember one of the goals, but I remember us absolutely smashing to pieces. So I was pretty confident that we'll go and get something. But we had kind of a strange record against Chelsea because we never, for some reason, we either go in front and they equalise, or they'll go in front and we'll equalise. But we always struggle to beat them at their ground. Sometimes we'll play really well there. But somehow they always had that side of us. It wasn't much of a surprise that we didn't win there, but it was a surprise that we lost because the way we were playing, I couldn't see us losing the game. But let's face it, if you get us steadying off, a player to go off injured because you used all your subs, it's a win-win for the club, Chelsea, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It was a heartbreak, wasn't it? I mean, I remember being at the game, and it was just like heartbreak. We didn't play well at all.
No,
our defence was looking very, very shaky. It just didn't. I don't know. It was just a sad, sad day. I remember after that game, everybody was so deflated. The players were down. You could see George Graham was very upset about it. I mean, Chelsea, let's be honest, that season weren't very good.
No, not from Well, George, he used to play for Chelsea, so he loved games against Chelsea because it was obviously that's where he made his name in it before he came to us. And him best. He loved pitting his wits against Chelsea, his old club, and he also loved pitting his wits against Spurs when Terry Venables was the Spurs manager, because him and Terry Venables were best mates at Chelsea, and they maintain their friendship.
Yeah. I'm going to very quickly say, good comment here, mate. RTM Sports Service. I found your channel easier enough when searching, but if people are finding it hard to search, you should do a reboot, just mate. Right. Question to the chat in here. 74 people watching. Right. Tell me what's best. I was thinking about calling it Arsenal Jez or Jez Arsenal, because the wife has said to me it's too long-winded. The current channel name's too long-winded, and so people put in there a vote and just say what you think is better, Arsenal Jez or Jez Arsenal, because I'll be interested to know. Rebrand when the new kit comes out, mate. Yeah, well, that's where it is. Anyway, we move on. So we win the season, win the league. One game we lost. One game.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. I honestly thought we'd have gone unbeaten, but we didn't. We move into the 91-92. Not a great season. We shared the FA Charity Shield with Tottenham. Pretty boring game.
Awful game.
Wasn't it really? It was a dead rubber, wasn't it? It's no.
Yeah.
So we'll dismiss that season really, because 91-92 we ended up fourth, and we didn't really achieve a lot, to be honest.
We scored the most goals. We got Ian right. We scored the most goals that season.
We didn't do it though, did we?
No.
Second season to talk about, 92-93. What can I say? Kenny, what a season. Won both domestic cups.
You know what? Believe it or not, when we have that sort of discussion with fans now, when you say, look, what's more important, league finish or trophies? I think 92-93 was very poignant, because believe it or not, it was the first season of Premiership. Obviously, it was a case where we had Ian Wright, we had Kenny Ken, we had David Sim, we had the back four. initially, I thought we were going to win the Premiership. I thought Andy Gray thought we were the favourites, and we thought we were the favourites. And I agreed with him because the way we finished the season 92, 91, 92, scoring the most goals, smashing every team, playing good football, it was there for the taking. But what we didn't realise is the first game of the season we lost 4-2 at home to Norwich. Mark Robin Scott hat-trick.
Oh, God,
remember that? And then we beat Liverpool 2-0 and in that game. But it was kind of the sign of things to come where we weren't. It was a case where we weren't very good to watch. Blackburn beat us 1-0. We lost to North London Derby in December, 1-0, Paul Allen. And it was a case where it became very, very clear to me that we were never going to win because the way we were playing football, we were built to just do well in the cups. We weren't actually built to do well in the leagues because at that time, the teams that played attacking football and had wingers on each side were the teams who were winning matches. Like obviously Norwich were playing really well that season. Aston Villa had a very good side, and obviously Man United had Kinchelskis and Sharp, and then sometimes it was Giggs, so they had three wingers. Plus, Mark Hughes was in good form and Inks was playing well. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you can only ever talk about the Cups. You can talk about two games. The semi-final in the League Cup against Crystal Palace, where we actually smashed them. Ian Wright was on form. Alan Smith was on form. And then you've got to talk about the final at Wembley in the League Cup, but it was April. And Sheffield Wednesday, believe it or not, thought they were the favourites. They were playing great football. They had Chrissy Waddle. They had John Sheridan. They had David Hurst. They had Paul Walhurst, who was actually a defender, but which was converted into a forward because David Hurst had these injury problems. So they had Mark Wright, they had Graham Hyde, teams like that, and they had Nielsen, they had Chris Woods in goal. And they had a very, very good team. And believe it or not, they're playing really good football. But at that time, that game, actually, Sheffield Wednesday went 1-0 up. John Hartson. And in the tunnel during that game, Ian Wright got himself in a right 2-8 because John Hartson said that Arsenal are Wimbledon with A-levels. So that galvanised us. But Sheffield Wednesday went in front, and then Paul Merson got the equaliser, and he did it. We could all see it in the crowd.
Got it up there, mate.
I must admit, when the goal went in for Morrow, everyone went bananas. Went berserk. But believe it or not, we didn't actually. When I was there, I didn't actually notice Morrow getting dropped by Adams. I didn't notice it. What I did notice was everyone around him and the physios around him. I was thinking, what's all that? What's all the commotion there?
Yeah.
And then that was great. And then if you segue into the FA Cup, obviously we beat Ipswich in the quarterfinals, and then he had the semi-final revenge against Tottenham. Revenge. But this time, Tottenham were the favourites because they were playing some good football. They had Naeem, they had guys like they still had the same sort of players. They had Neil Ruddock at the back. They had Justin Edinburgh, who was still playing for them. They had Toyce Fett. They had Nicky Barmby, next kid of the block, and Darren Anderson. And they were the favourites going into that game because they were playing good football. But this time we were ready for them. We weren't messing around. And then great cross by Merson. Tony Adams at the far post. Thank you. Goodbye. Tears for Spurs. Darren Anderson starts crying. Edinburgh cries and get to the final. And it was a case of, again, Sheffield bloody Wednesday again.
Yes.
And what you got to remember on our way to that League Cup final, I think we played, am I mistaken, we played Millwall and we knocked them out on penalty.
Yeah, we did.
We drew 1-1 at the Den. We drew 1-1 at the Den. See, people forget this, but we drew 1-1 at the Den, and we actually beat them 3-1 on penalties in that League Cup. Millwall played very, very well that day, and there was a big upset on the cards. But the start of that season was horrendous. I mean, we lost against Norwich, and we also lost against Blackburn. We beat Liverpool, we beat Oldham, and then we beat, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday. So we won 3 games, and then we drew, and then we lost, drew. QPR, Wimbledon, and just didn't get going. Just didn't really. You could see the way that season was going to pan out. But we made. He did kind of change our style of play, and it did make us more of a cup team rather than a league team. There was players kind of transitioning, and some players were kind of, on their way out, and there was a bit of a change of the guard. So, yeah, we were a completely different team that season. We was a completely different team that season. Still a very hard team to beat, but never kind of got going from the start. But I remember that game at Millwall. Again, we didn't play well at all. We really didn't.
I was at the game.
Yeah,
Very.
Yeah, the 3-1 on penalties, and then after that we went on a little. We beat Nottingham Forest 2-0. We beat Everton 2-0. Again, we were winning 2. Then we lost 3-0. We lost 3-0 at Leeds United, who were a very good team. They were a very good team, Leeds United. We got absolutely hammered there. I remember going to Ellen Road. And we lost 3-0. We got absolutely smashed that day. Never really in the game. And things weren't really looking good. But as Kenny said, the revenge on Spurs was very, very sweet and well timed. And once we knocked Spurs out, I knew we were going to win the cup. I knew it. Yeah. I just knew we was going to win the cup. But Sheffield Wednesday were a very, very good team.
It was vengeance, mate. It was vengeance.
Oh yeah, massively vengeance.
Just very quickly do his super chat. Off topic. AB says, "Hi Jez, the fence issue in France being resolved?" No, it will be on the. I go on the 26th. Got a meeting with the mayor. We've got to have a meeting with the mayor, and get this sorted out. Basically, it's gonna cost money, because at the end of the day, that's how it works in France. But it is a bit of a piss take. But thank you for your super chat, mate. I'll update you while I'm out there. I'll let you know what happens. I'll do a little podcast about it. I will put out a poll after this show, because a lot of people are coming up with some common names. The popular one looks to me, Jez Talks Arsenal. And I like that name. I think that's quite good, actually. But I will put a poll out. But gentlemen, we Cup, League Cup, we did the double.
Yeah. We got two things, Jez.
Go on.
The first we forgot was remember that the North Bank was bulldozed.
Yes,
yeah.
We was at the mural up, didn't we?
Yeah, the mural, and
that great song, "Sit Down Next to Me." It used to be my intro.
And another one is the person that he was actually a catalyst for what happened later. We signed John Jensen from Bromberg in '92 on the back of him scoring the first goal in the European Championship final when Denmark beat Germany.
Yes, well, they got called off the beaches, wasn't it? They didn't qualify, but someone got chucked out. Was it Russia? No, it wasn't Russia.
It was Yugoslavia.
Yugoslavia got chucked out because of the political, and then the Danish players, I remember it well. They was on the beach with their families and all of that, and they got called off the beach.
Yeah,
and the rest is history, because they actually won it.
I know they lost it. They lost one of the games against Sweden, but they beat Germany in the final.
Yeah,
beat Holland on penalties.
Yeah,
I don't know how you put a poll in here live.
No, I ain't got a clue, mate. I
don't do that.
I haven't got.
I know people do it. I don't know how to do it.
Aaron will know.
Yeah.
I think he's out with his boy. He's at football practice.
Oh, fair enough.
It's like when I start my channel, I ain't really got a clue what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna. At least I'll be chatting. It'll be similar to this, guys. We'll all be chatting. We'll all be together. We'll all be a community, and it'll all be lovely.
It should be good, mate.
Yeah.
You know what? You know the thing with Johnny Jensen.
Yeah.
The thing about it, right, is if you talk about George Graham, you talk about Johnny Jensen. There's loads of things you've got to talk about. You have to mention the players he signed. You have to mention the trophies. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, Johnny Yates is a very, very important person in George Graham's career at Arsenal, and he shouldn't really be because he never scored. He only scored one goal for us
He did.
all season. You'll be at games, and we'll every time he got the ball, we said shoot. You know what I mean? We all said shoot, and that went for a very long time. But it was one of those things where, he was part of the problem where every team had players. The Premiership was beginning to be a team where you started to get a lot of foreign players in. Before the first foreign players we used to get was the Scandinavians, Norwegians. Then we started getting artisans from Italy. But teams were playing good football. We weren't. It was awful to watch. Like long ball over the top. Ian Wright runs onto it, scores. 38 goals in the league that season, guys.
Yeah.
Finished at length. 38 goals. Can you believe it? Does that remind you of a team called Man United? It wasn't good enough. It was a time when we were happy with the way the cups we were winning, but I think the natives began to get a bit restless because of the football they were watching Man United playing, because of the way Villa were playing the football they were seeing. They were happy. Even Norwich was playing better football than us and finishing on us, and then the threat of Blackburn. I think we began to realise that the way we do things under George was becoming a bit out of date and it's become a bit stale. There was a few murmurings, complaints, even when we did win those trophies. And the season afterwards, there was still complaints.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was... it was a funny old transition, wasn't it? It was a funny old transition. I mean, I know... But, I mean, getting back to when we beat Tottenham at Wembley, I remember we went on a good unbeaten run then. I think, we was beating teams, Coventry 2-0, Southampton 4-3. We were scoring goals. And I remember when we played Sheffield Wednesday in the league after we beat them at Wembley. Lost 1-0.
Yes, right.
Was it Waddle that scored or was it Warhouse?
No, I think it was Bright who scored for him.
Bright, yeah. We lost 1-0 that game. I went. I don't know why I went, but I did go because I'd only seen them at Wembley. We lost 1-0, but it was a weird sort of end, wasn't it? Really, 92. I was, the two cups were fantastic, but I do remember Johnny Jensen. He was kind of solid, really, wasn't he? He's a hard player to predict, really, wasn't he? He was. Again, he got him from Bromby, and everyone thought, "Who's he signed here?" But that was George, wasn't it? He was signing players that kind of weren't massive, big household names, or he definitely works within his budget. I mean, I don't think he had a lot of money to spend throughout his manager. Career.
George never had money to spend. He didn't have the money to spend.
Never any money. He always had to sort of shop in Aldi's and Lidl's rather than Marks and Spencer's. Do you know what I mean? But you know what I mean. He never had the money, and this is the frustrating thing. When you talk about this modern manager now, people say, could he have done? No, he couldn't have done. There's no way this manager could have done what the great man done. I don't think Wenger would have.
No,
not at all. And he's without doubt the best manager we've ever had at this football club.
On the money
budget.
Yeah, the players he improved, the players he turned into world class players.
Yeah,
especially the defence. The fact that he maximised a youth team. He got the best out of players. He actually got He got the best out of Martin Hayes, who was basically trying to flog to Huddersfield. Perry Groves was a good player for him. He knew when to use Brian Marwood. But when Brian Marwood wasn't at it, he went and got Anders Limpar, and he maximised everything he can get out of Anders Limpar. Turned Paul Merson into a top player. Yeah. Unfortunately, when you talk about 92, 93, two things happened. Guys in the chat, Andy Hart mentions there was a fallout between George Graham and Michael Thomas. Yes, there was a fallout in 91, 92. It was over his wages and over money increase. So yeah, there was a fallout. and Michael Thomas's last game was in 91-92 against Coventry, and it was pretty obvious he didn't want to play for us no more. So he got transferred to Liverpool, and obviously at the end of the 92 season, we now know medical advice, but I was actually furious with George when David Rocastle was transferred to Leeds United. That hurt me because it was like losing a family member.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
Yeah, it was. I remember when he went to Leeds. That wasn't nice. That wasn't a nice time because Rocastle was. He was. It was like losing. It was like seeing your son go and move away to another country, wasn't it? It was like awful, absolutely.
And then Mickey Thomas leaves as well. That hurt as well because of. Although I think what happened with Mickey Thomas is that he's actually like a player like George Graham. He was a stroller, but for some reason George Graham didn't like the Mickey Thomas when he was like a carbon copy of how he played. But that was when George was going towards. No disrespect to Ian Selly, no disrespect to David Hilliard, no disrespect to John Jensen, but that's when a bit of the flair went when he started getting players like that into the team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's when it really became defensive. That's when it really became 1-0 to the Arsenal. That was really change of the play then. But I think the players at the time had to be moved on. I think the squad was breaking up. We was losing iconic players at the time, and I think as much as it hurt, I think it was we had to do it. We had to do it. And then sort of going into the 93-94 season. Another iconic, fantastic 94. Unbelievable.
Sorry, I left you there. I was trying to set this poll up.
We'll just carry on because when you figure out.
Remember the 93-94 season, we lost our first league game at Coventry, didn't we?
Mickey Quinn hat trick.
Mickey Quinn, yeah. Best game he's ever played, and he still says that today. Even today, he still says it today. And then we went 4 games unbeaten. We beat Tottenham 1-0. We had a tricky start to the season.
Yes, we smashed them in that derby. We smashed them. We actually scored a goal in the last minute when we should have scored about 3 or 4.
At White Hart Lane, we actually smashed them. Then we beat Sheffield Wednesday away at Hillsborough. Then we beat a very good Leeds team 2-1 at Highbury.
That's the season when Ian Wright scored that cracking goal against when he basically destroyed Neville Southall, where he just basically
absolutely mullered him. Yeah. And then we drew Blackburn Rovers 1-1, didn't we? So the start of the season wasn't too bad, Then we beat. Well, we lost at Man United, didn't we? Old Trafford, 1-0.
Cantona free kick.
Cantona free kick. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Again, we went, and then after that, we hit a load of games there unbeaten, didn't we? Did we have who did we have in the early rounds of the Cup Winners' Cup? Was it Standard Liège?
Yeah, we won 7-0. We won the
game.
We won
it was Standard Liège, wasn't it? In the first in the early round, wasn't it?
And by that time, we signed Eddie McGoldrick from Crystal Palace.
Yes. Eddie came on board, didn't he? I didn't rate him at all.
Eddie McGoldrick. He was never really good enough for us. Obviously, he was a local lad from Blackpool Road. He was playing for his local team, but he was never ever good enough.
Really hit the ground running, did he? Didn't hit the ground running. And then we went to Anfield. Do you remember the 0-0 bore at Anfield? I was there.
Yeah, that was awful to watch.
That was 0-0. In actual fact, we went on a run of draws after that, didn't we? I think we went 0-0. Who did we beat after that, Anfield? I can't remember. That was Standard Liège.
Yeah, that's what we beat.
3-0, wasn't it? We beat them 3-0, wasn't it?
I'll tell you.
I remember being a bit frustrated because when you went in the League Cup, we lost to Aston Villa, who went on to win it. Dane Atkinson got the goal, and in the FA Cup, the thing that really, really got me, was we lost to Bolton bloody Wanderers after drawing at their ground 1-1, and then It was like they absolutely smashed us. I think Andy Walker got made it 3-1. I remember McGinley and Jace McIntyre getting the goal. Sadly, God bless his soul, that was the beginning and the end for Kevin Campbell because the fans turned on him really bad. I was at the game and they were booing him and calling him all sorts of names.
Not
that
nice.
really got to me. It was out of order.
And then and then we went. Yeah, we done all right after that, didn't we? We beat the A's, and then Tottenham 1-1. Do you remember the Spurs 1-1 game?
Yeah, that was a game. Yeah, Darren Anderson, Ian Wright put them 1-0 up. And then what's his good old Ian Wright gets the goal. And I think we finished fourth that season. We were actually pretty solid in the Premier League. Yeah, we were. We were. We drew a lot. We did draw a lot of games that season. Though. We were difficult to beat, and we were scoring goals again. Kenny Campbell was scoring goals. Ian Wright was in his pomp. Merce was playing well. We actually had a game against Man United where we drew 2-2, where Eric Cantona had back-to-back sending-offs. Yes, we drew 17 games that season. Yeah, if I can remember. Do you remember that game against at Highbury when Eric Cantona got sent off? I still don't know what he got sent off for. I think he was abused the ref, didn't he? He calls the ref a name, I think. I don't know what because the other day there was. I didn't see any stamping on Tony Adams. I just see him there off the ball. Nothing really happened, and the next minute he's getting a red card. Exactly. Yeah. We lost. I think we lost. How many? I think that season. Now we lost 7. I think we drew about 17 draws. It was tough. Did we played Torino as well, didn't we? On the way to Parma, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Yeah. The Italian team Torino, because the Italian football at the time, as I remember it, used to be. Was it on Channel 4 at the time? It was. I used to watch it. Italian football was massive at the time. They had all the stars out there, didn't they? Torino. They had all that lot. Yeah. Remember they had a player called Lentini? I think he actually left. He left. He basically broke the transfer record from Torino to AC Milan, but I think he signed the season before that. Yeah, I can need to catch up with the chat, gentlemen. And then we beat 3-1 on aggregate. And who did we play in the semi-final on the way to Parma? PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. I think 2-1 aggregate we won. Yeah, but they had Ginola, George Weah, Roy. Yes, that's a superb team. Very good team. Yes. I'll do a super chat if I can. Did we draw 1-1 at the Paris Saint-Germain? We drew 1-1 the first leg, didn't we? Yeah. I like that one, mate. I have put a poll out. The popular shout. Oh, you'll have to show me how to do a poll, Jez. I ain't got a clue how to do polls, mate. It's not shown on here. I don't know why. At the moment, it is. We had Paris Saint-Germain in the semi. In the first leg, innit? Ian Wright got booked in Paris. He was suspended, wasn't he? He was suspended for the final because he got booked in Paris. In the first game of Paris, there was a lot of remember Ginola was calling us the louts. Remember the papers? Because basically Lee Dixon kept a bit swearing at him, and Ginola was swearing at them back, and then they went 1-0. I think we went 1-0 up, and they equalised. I think Ginola got. I don't know. Either Ginola got the goal, he assisted it, but he started swearing at our players, and then obviously the game at Highbury, all we remember is Ian Wright crying, and you can see him in the ground crying because he got booked, and because at that time he missed the final. But you got to remember Kevin Campbell's goal, just before half time. Nice little header. Yeah, nice little header. Yeah, nice little header. And then we got to the final, wasn't it? Parma. Copenhagen again. Copenhagen. Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Against a star-studded Parma. They had Thomas Brolin. Asprilla. Did you boys go to that game? I was there. Yes, I was there by default. What it was, my uncle was ill. The trouble with the
Turkish fans because of the
that was in 2000 when we played Galatasaray.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
do,
I think
do you remember the one at Copenhagen, right? When we had Leeds United turn up as well.
yeah, everyone turned up to fight. To every fan from me, every English fan turned up to have a go.
Yeah, it was nasty scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Nasty.
actually
Proper naughty. That was proper.
It
naughty.
was.
Yeah, I got there by default. My uncle was ill at the time, and yeah, so
you got his ticket.
Roger, what are you not happy about, mate? There's no swearing going there.
yeah, there's no square.
No, I think what Roger did. Roger doesn't like us. Doesn't like us talking about the old days at Arsenal. He's basically been trolling us throughout the show, saying this is Stone Age. You're talking about the Stone Ages. He's a young fan who thinks Arsenal started probably during the Wenger years.
Yeah, but this is any young fans watching this. This is a history lesson, guys. This is telling you about the great George Graham team when we actually was successful and won something with shirt buttons, basically, to spend. You know.
Do you know?
Also,
hit the post in that game.
Yeah, we're also giving you a history lesson on something that our current manager would never be able to do in a million years.
100%. Winning Europe. George Graham was the last manager to win in Europe.
Not just winning in Europe, but winning full stop.
Yeah.
And building a team out of nothing.
And by the way, guys, it's the last time we won in Europe.
Yes, it was.
94.
It was. And I remember the goal, Alan Smith. The ball came across. He hit it on the half volley. And I think during that game, if I remember, we had Ian Selly playing that day.
Ian Selly played it.
Ian Selly in midfield because we had injuries. Ian Wright was suspended, and then someone got injured. I can't remember who it was, but Morrow had to go to left back, and we put Winterburn as a holding midfield player. That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember actually seeing him making a good save from Aspria.
Yeah.
I remember Brolin hitting the post. Gianfranco Zola played that day for them.
He did,
and he was running the show. And I remember they had Apolloni and Musi, and they had Cincini, and in goal they had Gianluca Paluca.
Yeah. Oh, they had some team, mate. They had some team.
Yeah.
I thought we were.
On top side, didn't
I thought we was just there for the ride. I thought we was just there just to make the numbers up because they was
superb side,
studied all over the pitch. I mean, Thomas Brolin at the time was rated probably one of the best players in the world at the time.
Aspria was a great player as well.
Yeah, we won that against all odds. But I remember. I'd love to know who got injured. If anyone in the chat remembers, but someone got injured, and all I remember is Morrow went to left back, and Winterburn was then put in as a holding midfield player. Now that was the genius of George Graham. What manager would have thought of taking a left back into holding midfield player? And he done a job, and then Brolin didn't have a sniff then.
Apart from that shot where he hit the post, he didn't really get much sniff.
No.
Aspria struggled in that game as well.
No.
And I know, Kenny, you've got a bounce shortly.
Yeah, I've got a
meeting to go to. Aaron talks Arsenal, sorry. Jez, when we both got time, I'll set a stream up and show. I thought I'd done it right, mate, but it just didn't show up.
You know what? One of the things, sadly, when you think about the Cup Winners' Cup, it was actually the time where the season afterwards it was beginning for George Graham because we played Brombu, and that's when all the directors came back from Brombu over the sort of the monies.
Yes,
regarding Whitson.
Yeah,
so by that time, rumours were
the end of the great man, wasn't it? Bless him. That was the end. It was his demise, really. But yeah.
Well, basically, it wasn't so much in England, but all across Denmark and sort of Norway, there were reports that talking about George Graham and Rune Hauger. And about what George Graham called it, we call it a bung. George Graham called it an unsolicited gift. whatever that is. I don't know what that means in English, but unsolicited gift. I don't know. That's the first time I actually heard the word. You know, I know George Graham's like a suave guy, but I didn't know he knew the meaning of the word unsolicited.
Do you remember who we played after that, Palmer? I think it was Newcastle away. We lost 1-0, didn't we?
Yeah, we lost 1-0. That's when Newcastle were top side. I think Andy Cole got one of the goals.
Andy Cole. Yeah. See,
Newcastle.
Right. So we've gone. I'll tell you what, guys, we've gone through this. We've not only just talked about George Graham. We've actually spoke about results, the matches, who we played in the Cup Winners' Cup, who we lost to, how we started the beginning of the season, who we lost at home to, who we drew away.
It's still a shock when he got sacked, though. It was still a shock when he got sacked because when you talk about the George Graham area, it's like, where were you when you heard that Tony Adams was
I was on the train.
And then where were you when you heard George Graham get sacked? To be honest, he got stitched up by the Premier League. Basically, Arsenal were told the results of the Premier League, and basically the Premier League said, "Look, either you deal with it, or we'll deal with you." So George Graham was kind of thrown out of the bus. But to this day, I
swear to this day, that's the only reason why Arsenal haven't made a statue of him, because of his conviction.
Yeah. Well, we're going to finish this off, gentlemen, because Kenny's got an important thing to do. Question from Jared. Big up, man. Hey, Jez, is the Cup Winners' Cup that we won in Europe equivalent to the Europa League? No. The Cup Winners' Cup was that, and then you had the UEFA Cup, which was equivalent now.
Yeah.
The Europa League, basically. Yeah. Shame that we got rid of the Cup Winners' Cup. I used to like
it was a shame. It was a shame. Still a good cup to win. But this is why it hurts so much when we went out the Champions League semi-final with a whimper, because it's not so much Tottenham and Man United are in a European Cup. It's because we've not had that success in Europe. We've been the poor man of Europe, really. For such a big club, our record in Europe stinks, and that's why it's bitter. That's why it's bad that Man United and Tottenham
it's not good for club. Vanta says young gunners need to follow you, men. Heritage fact.
Yeah. What an event. I hope he's wearing his merch that we set him up in last night.
Vic.
I love what the Assemble said. It can only be a gift if you accepted it. Kenny, no matter what you call it.
Yeah.
Andy says, thank you, mate, for your super chat. Who did George Graham replace? Terry Neal, basically.
Yeah.
He did all right. 4 cup finals, won one. One was the UEFA Cup, of course. But didn't get it over the line. Shocking.
No. Penalties, mate.
Had to go. I was one of the people that was on the Neil out up to Islington Town.
He was bad, though, Jez. He had to go. Come on. The games we were losing games at home to Walsall, West Brom, Sunderland, Coventry. Come on. Our home form we were just getting battered. Liverpool beat us that as well that season. I think, you know what I mean? Man United beat us as well. It was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Wasn't very good.
It was. Radio. But Dazza says then the following year we were a kick away from going to Pens to retain it. Naeem.
Yeah.
Do you never get a
Don't.
To be honest, we didn't play well that way anyway in Paris. I remember that game. We didn't play well. I remember Schneider Argentine scored it. Johnny Hartson, Ian Wright played that game that day. Johnny Hartson got right in front of Ian Wright and poked into the net to take it into extra time.
Yeah. Oh dear, yeah, that was a bad one. Well done, Venter.
You know, Real Zaragoza. They beat Chelsea in a semi-final of that year.
Yeah,
I'm blaming you for that, DJ. Last night,
it wasn't my fault from day one. That the merch kitting out. It was my fault from day one, and Aaron then took it on to another level.
Oh, right.
But
I felt
we kitted Kenny out. We got Kenny sorted out with a nice new dressing gown, slippers, everything.
Yeah, we had
We
sliders.
sorted Kenny right out last night. He was done. Merch. Lee got done. Matty got done. Oh, there was a load of people got done last night.
Yeah.
Good fun. Good fun. You got to have fun, guys. End of the season. Arsenal's effed it up again, so why not? It's been a pleasure talking about this great man, though, Jez. Thank you very much indeed.
Great set of manager, but
Are you,
despite the fact,
we got another. We got the end of it to do yet.
Yeah.
Are you boys around Thursday night to finish it off?
I'm not around this. I'm not around this Thursday.
We could try. We could try. I don't know.
I can do Tuesday.
Next week.
I can do Monday. I can do Monday, Tuesday next week.
Yeah, just because I
can do Monday after. I can do Monday after Lee's, in between Aaron and Lee's, if you want.
Yeah, I think if we could do Tuesday. The reason why, because I get a phone call every a meeting at 8 o'clock every Monday.
Tuesday. What about Tuesday?
Tuesday next
week.
week.
That's fine for me. That's Prince and Jez, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that all right for you, Jez? Tuesday?
Yeah, I can do any time. Don't worry,
okay, mate.
Okay, Tuesday
next week.
We finish it off. We go from the 95 up to the end, and then we've got, of course, after that, the next series will be Arsene Wenger. That'll be
interesting. Yeah.
That's gonna be epic. That one.
Yeah, I'm like that with Wenger. He bought me some of the best years I've ever seen at Arsenal.
You know, Arsene Wenger's our most famous manager. If you go around the world and they talk about Arsenal managers, or like anywhere you go in the world, and they don't
talk about George Graham.
They mention Arsenal, but Arsene Wenger actually made us. Well, basically made us an international club.
Yeah,
because that's when the TV rights.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when the TV rights were going around the world, he was our manager.
Yeah. No, exactly, mate.
So wrap it up, guys, because Kenny's got.
Yeah, I've got to get going, and I think so I'll see you soon.
So next part 3, the final part of this bit will be next Tuesday. I'm probably going to do a show in between that on something different.
I'm going to go. I'm just going to say I'm going live on Sunday. My first show.
Cool. Well,
don't expect too much, guys. I'm absolutely haven't got a clue what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be talking. I'm going to have some guests on. We're going to be talking about the end of the season. We're going to be saying about the highs and lows, where you want everything else. It's going to be a nice little laid-back chat. Nothing too heavy. Won't last too long. I won't bore you to tears, but come along and have a little look.
You going to talk about pajamas again?
I probably might. Yeah, I'll always have a comedy section. My channel will have a lot of comedy in it. That's what I'm just warning you now. It will be laced with a lot of comedy. Be a little bit different.
Kenny Ken, as always, legend.
Thanks you very much for having me on.
Yeah,
I'll tell you one thing. It's cooler now.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had that shower. But a lot of people want to know the name of the channel. But you obviously got to tell us at the end of the season, Jez.
At the moment, the classic one is Jez Talks Arsenal.
There you go. You've got Aaron Talks Arsenal and Jez Talks Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a bit like
Godfather AFC. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I might call it Jez of Highbury.
Gunner Jez.
You are from Highbury, though.
Gunner Jez.
Eh?
Gunner Jez.
You are from Highbury, though.
Exactly. So I might call it Jez Highbury. I don't know.
No. Big up, my friends. Big up, Jez. It's been a pleasure once again. Thank you very much. I love this. History.
Shout your show out before you go.
It's DJB, the Arsenal Huddle. There it is. There. It's Mama Flossie's put it in. I'm going to be changing that name as well, but that's what it is at the moment. It's the Arsenal Huddle. Everyone huddle together and have a good time and build up a community. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's called a huddle because we can all huddle together. That's what I've done it. Yeah.
Jez of Highbury, Jenna Gunnosaurus. Oh, fuck that. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always.
My friend. Take it easy.
Take it easy. See you later.
I sort of lost it a bit tonight because I was trying to do something.
Oh, don't worry. Me and Kenny went through the 93-94 season. Don't worry, mate.
I was listening. I was just trying to do something.
Don't worry. We held the fort, brother. Don't you worry about that.
I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon, guys. All the best.
Yeah, boys. Take care. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
We're out of it, everyone. As
Cheers,
always.
guys.